Yeah. Let's just get going.
I mean, this is all going to be about AI and research and business, and this is what the topic is today. Go.
Yes. Um, I guess this kind of relates to the essay project that I'm doing. Uh, quick recap, because John's literally just come in. Yeah, no talkie, just recordy.
Yeah,
Uh, I like that. No talkie, just record it. Anyway, the video that's coming out today on my channel is an update about Capano becoming CEO of Obsidian, which is like, yay, clap,
yeah, that's really cool.
congratulations.
Yeah, well done.
Which means Silver can get back to community work and Leica can get back to developing the app, which is obviously what they wanted to start doing in the first place, which is awesome. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what? What were my points at the beginning of the year? At the beginning of the year, I want to do more research. What have I done this year? More research. What have I shared this year? Nothing about research. So I've done loads more stuff. Obviously, you and I have spoken about the stuff that I've
Yeah,
researched, but I haven't shared any of it. So I was like, you know what? Let's share it. Let's do some research projects. And I've spoken to you off recording about sort of trying to replicate people like Johnny Harris, James Janney, NerdForge, sort of combine it all together and make a sort of like a Hayden Hellier, who's a professional editor for like Logan Paul and stuff. But he's taken the content creation and said, hey, editing's really important. This is why, how, etc. I have the same feeling about research, especially when it comes to
yeah,
documentary style videos and video essays. And if you're going to say anything that I would argue impacts someone's way of thinking and acting in the real world requires research. Otherwise, you're just spouting more what I would class as disinformation and misinformation into the world. So I was like, right, research. Let's get some sort of like brains behind this stuff. And I've tried to use AI. I've tried so hard, like so hard. I've used so many different prompts. I've used loads of different people's ideas on how to use prompts. I've used your help. I've used some other people's help. I've used different programs. I've used programs that I've used like 40 different versions of ChatGPT, like where people have created their own versions. I've used it's funny, Illicit is actually more accurate than all of the other AIs that I found when it comes to brainstorming things. I see you nodding. Obviously, you've come across that as well. And it's painfully annoying as a researcher to see essentially fake news and misinformation
yeah.
that you try to avoid online being spouted as answers to questions. You're like, no, that's literally the opposite of what I want AI to do. Small rant over, I'll let you speak.
Yeah, so when I saw your post yesterday, I was like, okay, cool. I knew this was going to be our topic of conversation. So one of the things, like from a business perspective, the advice given is functional. Don't put productivity advice in there. You will get the same nonsense that everybody else gives you, which is a problem, which is the issue that we're talking about here. And I think having that under, so I ran a workshop and I'm going to be running more workshops on ChatGPT, having that human knowledge. So in the world, it's domain knowledge, like from the human and putting that in there. So a good example is literally first thing this morning because I was like, okay, cool, I can now upgrade and it's much faster. Wow, it is much faster. That's a bit scary. They are for free users, they are throttling us. They were throttling us because it's much faster. But anyway, what's the point? I just went, how do you learn stuff? Because I knew that that's kind of your domain of knowledge, and I was like, I wonder what mis and disinformation comes up for everybody. Can you explain what disinformation is, just as a reminder, if they haven't listened? Because I know you did a lot of research on that, which I love.
Yeah. Definition, can't give it to you because there isn't one, or
Okay.
there isn't a unified definition. What I could actually do, which
Your definition, or
I I'm working on it. It's a working definition at the moment,
okay,
so I'm just going to find I'm actually, you know what I'll do? I'll share my screen so people can see what I'm browsing through. I'm sharing my Obsidian screen. This is all of my notes from for fake news. It's a research project I'm working on, and I'm going to use the ones from Claire. I think it's Claire. Why is Kira? Oh no, that's because that's where the image got from. Yeah, Claire. Claire Warden. These are her definitions for misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So, misinformation is when false information is shared, but no harm is meant. Disinformation is when false information is knowingly shared to cause harm. And then a malinformation is when genuine information is shared to cause harm. So often by moving information designed to stay private into the public spheres. And you can take a lot of those in different ways. There's a diagram for those watching on YouTube. I'll zoom in a little bit. Ooh, that didn't zoom, that just zoomed in the text. You can zoom in on the screen. But yeah, so that's what Claire uses. And the way I see this is misinformation is essentially sharing something that's not true, but you don't have any like harmful intent behind it, which I think is
which is most of the internet, to be most of the people in our spheres that we know, most of the creators out there, just it is misinformation they're sharing. Yeah,
that's how I see it, because it's not meant to be harmful, but it is information that isn't correct, which can lead to harm, which is where misinformation to me is quite dangerous. And I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, so one of the things I did, I literally put, how do we learn? And the reply made me giggle because I could just hear you screaming in the background. Are we ready for this?
Don't tell me learning
Can you
styles
guess?
isn't
Can
there.
you guess? Can you guess what it's going to say? Go on, guess.
Flashcards, Feynman technique, explain something is 3 years old.
No, it's going to be worse than that. I've heard you rant about this forever. Learning is the process of acquiring new knowledge, skills, or behaviors through experience, study, or instruction. It involves the formation of new neural connections in the brain, which can be strengthened through repetition, feedback, and reflection. Different learning styles and methods exist, such as visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning, and techniques such as active recall, active recall, spaced repetition, and deliberate practice can be used to optimize learning outcomes.
Screen share that now.
I can't. You disabled it.
Oh, I didn't disable it. Zoom automatically disables it when I come into the room. See, and this is exactly what I mean. Like, it spouts out all of the stuff that it can find on the internet. But if all the stuff on the internet is...
Well, this is what I did. Because, of course, I know that learning styles are so...
It's a myth.
It's a myth, a complete myth. I went, hey, learning styles have been developed in 2008 by these people. Here is a quote from the paper below. And it went, oh, thank you for that. It is true that the concept of learning styles has been criticized by some researchers, including the blah, 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 blah. They agree that there is a lack of scientific evidence, etc., etc. So what I did, and this is how I'm approaching research on topics about humanity. When it comes to stuff about business, it's super simple because you provide... A lot of the stuff we've got is already done.
Just pause there for a sec. So you went, like, process, you went to ChatGPT and said, hey, here's a question. They gave you an answer.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know the topic area, so you can say, hey, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Would you say, hey, you're wrong to an area that you don't know about?
So this is what I would do. Knowing what I know, I have that knowledge around how this thing works, that it's not always truthful, and this is way too generalized. I probably would not have written this because I wouldn't have known, obviously, because, you know, most people don't research, whereas I did.
Did you use Elicit for that?
No.
Okay.
I literally just Googled it, which is a miracle that I actually just bothered Googling, but whatever. I just Googled it because I know that it's there and I know what I'm looking for. So I literally just did a quick Google search of like learning styles debunked, found it immediately. Yeah. But yeah, so what I would have done
2008, you would have thought ChatGPT would pick that up. And it's
that's
before
the thing that's the thing that upset me. I was surprised.
But the thing is, it's before that as well, because I'm pretty sure there was a study in 2002.
2002.
Oh, was it in there?
Yeah.
Oh, I got the date right. Yeah, pretty sure the study in 2002. And I think that references a study from the late 90s as well. I think there was one in like 96, 97 as well that leaned that way. And there's been people talking about learning styles for years, obviously. Even when it was first suggested through VARC, there were loads of, oh, actually it's this and actually it's that, and arguments backwards and forwards. But yeah, so how it's not picked it up? I'm like, what are you looking at? Just blogs where people
that's the thing.
Stuff?
So one thing that I'm playing with is trying to give it, so in productivity, it gives the exact same information that everybody else gives, which obviously is misinformation at best for many people. And of course it's subjective and blah, 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 whatever. Disclaimers aside. So I've been trying to play and see what other information comes up. So whenever I do something that I don't fully understand, I don't just ask it a question and then accept the answer. I will always break it down. So it mentions something in here, and I'm like, okay, cool. It says that there are researchers have proposed alternative frameworks, cognitive styles, multiple intelligences, which may have more empirical support. So I then asked what that is, because then that way I have a little bit more information. And then this is the thing that I'm always using, because when ChatGPT is asked a question, it will give the quickest, shortest answer possible, because it is designed to answer your question. That is what it's designed to do. It's not designed to critique your question unless you tell it to critique your question. And that's the important thing. So I actually asked it to provide a detailed outline on what cognitive styles are and break it down into its key components, which also includes criticism and controversies. And when I see these criticism and controversies, I'm instantly going to break down the criticisms and controversies. And I'm not going to keep saying that. So that's section 4, and I'm breaking it down for further research. And then it's actually explaining each of these and breaking it down further and further and further. It's kind of going deeper into the topic. Now, if I remember rightly, you can do this with Alyssa anyway, in some way, shape, or form. But you cannot just ask a single question, because you don't have that. I did not have all of this knowledge or experience or information. I knew that it was false from the beginning. But what I would have done with how do we learn, if I did not know that learning styles have been debunked, I would have gone and said, what are learning styles? And then ask them to break it down. And in fact, let's actually do that, because that's
I was going to say, but that right there inherently is the problem with AI, because every answer you get, you need to fact check, essentially, because you don't know if it's telling the truth or if it's another misinformation shared. Because if you say, what are the learning styles? It's going to say, well, there's visual, kinesthetic, blah, blah, blah. You got the processing too many requests. But yeah, it's going to say, oh, well, you've got the visual, and visual is helpful for blah, 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 and this can be used in blah, blah, blah situation. Yeah, but none of that's true. But it's still a valid response by the AI, because the AI is doing what it's meant to be doing, sharing information that it's found online. So if every answer it gives requires a bit of fact checking, when do you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, I now know, as in have truth, have evidence behind what it is that it's saying? You can't through AI. You have to go outside of it. So my question then is, okay, when do you go outside of AI to fact check or find evidence on the things that you found? Where is that step? Because I would argue it's got to be extremely early on. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time going down rabbit holes that you may not need to do at all. Especially like with learning, because with learning styles, you knew learning styles like question marks. I'm not sure. If you didn't know that, and you're a new teacher going, okay, how do people learn? Oh, learning styles. I'll learn about learning styles, and they will then spend potentially an hour, 2 hours going through what it's found out, what learning styles, writing this all down. But then they go to their lecturer and say, hey, look, I learned all of this about learning styles. And they go, yeah, that's a myth. And that's been a myth for almost 30 years now. Oh, well, they've just wasted 2-3 hours of research. If they went to Elicit and said, what's the best way to learn? Well, Elicit looks at the abstracts of academic articles, and you'll immediately.
And I think that is also the thing, getting to it. AI has benefits, and I do believe that AI can be used for research because it does help. But I don't think that ChatGPT on its own, or at all maybe, can do that. Unless you are looking for the common viewpoints. If you're looking for the common viewpoints that everyone talks about, you're going to get that answer. Now, you can ask it to give novel and non-traditional answers, but you have to add that to your prompt. If you don't add that to your prompt, it will not give that. But if you don't know how that works, then you won't actually do it. This is why my focus is educating people on how to use ChatGPT in a way that actually will give them what they're looking for. Because If
So
you don't
my
add that information, if you don't add those pieces, the small, tiny sentences that actually make a difference, you miss things. And then we have misinformation.
so what I've been using ChatGPT for is actually to find what the general population think. Like I'm using it as a kind of like a BS checker. It's like,
Ask the audience. Yes.
yeah, I'm kind of like, hey, ChatGPT, what does the internet say about this? What does the internet think about this? Because I have some expertise in the field. The example that you mentioned earlier on Twitter, cooldowns. Most people in sports coaching, strength and conditioning, inside of the research field, hopefully, if they're competent, will have done some research and found that cooldowns are actually basically useless. They don't do what they are supposed to do. They don't decrease injury risks. They don't help recovery unless
That's
you're
fascinating.
an elite performer doing a specified cool down regime, typically using cryotherapy or something like that, an ice bath at the correct temperature for the right amount of time in the isolated like parts of the body. Otherwise, it doesn't really do anything. If anything, there's a small placebo effect, but that's about it. But it's a massive misconception that, oh, you need to do a cool down after exercise. No, you don't. And no matter how I worded it, no matter how many times I told ChatGPT, you are wrong, it stuck with it. It was just belligerent and saying, well, blah, blah, blah. And it just kept repeating the same sorts of things that you see all over the internet. I'm like, ugh. So I did the opposite. What about a warm up? Because a warm up can be useful in certain contexts. And you know what context it's found? None. It said warm-up's always beneficial. No, it's not. No, it's not.
When it comes to very exceptionally niche, and it is niche.
But how is that niche? When you think about it, a warm-up for exercise.
It is, yeah.
That's a gym goer. Should I do a warm-up when I go to the gym? ChatGPT is going to say yes because it helps with blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay, great.
And that is why this is the reason why why experts aren't going anywhere. That is the reason why.
But they are. That's the problem. Because people have less trust in experts now already because the internet knows more. It doesn't. Fake news is everywhere and it's hard to know who to trust, who not to trust. And people with the expert status have been proven wrong because that's what experts do. Experts prove other experts wrong. That's the whole point of critical thinking. But what the general population see is, oh, that expert was proven to be wrong by that expert. I can't trust them. No, that's not the point. The point is either new knowledge came out or that expert developed their own expertise in the field. So people have mistrust in experts already. There was a study in, I think, 07 or 08, where it was like 56 or 57% of the general population will trust the news over experts.
Wow.
Like, what? The experts spend their life researching this thing, and this person on the news is just reading out an article that they found from some other news site. This is stupid. And ChatGPT is going to make it worse because all it is adding all of the misinformation and some valid information to the communication industry, like world. So it's going to be even easier to find misinformation and incorrect answers to things, which means convenience is now leaning towards misinformation, or bias is leaning towards misinformation. So like, what do the experts do apart from have to argue their point over and over and over again to people that are stubborn in their own ways because they've adopted what they've heard first? We know that's a psychological bias, or because they've heard it more times. We know that, again, is a behavioral bias. So that the expert is having to argue against even more things now with AI, and they can't even argue their points because the person they're arguing with doesn't understand the concept well enough for the person to use the jargon that makes sense. So they're like, okay, I need to argue with this person with words that they don't understand about a concept they don't grasp to help them in their life. Like, driving me mad. Sorry, but
I don't think ChatGPT is part of the problem, but this problem already exists.
I agree.
And I don't think it's going to ever change unless like overall humanity changes, which obviously takes a very, 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 very long time. I think there's been a lot of content around going back to business because it's where I work, and of like ChatGPT like meaning everyone's just going to ask ChatGPT to write their posts for them and leading to the misinformation thing. Yeah, absolutely. Bad writers are still going to be bad writers. They're still going to suck, and there is going to be more bad information. But Google are already on. Google already have. So I've been doing some research on SEO and AI. Google doesn't care if it's AI generated, provided it's good content. If it's good content, and by good content, it is not misinformed, it is not like they have expertise, there is something there which you can show that it's trustworthy, it will rank higher, whether it's written by AI or whether it's not. Now, the argument stands on whether that is enough, because that's also algorithmic, but that's beside the point.
So
I
got two
yes.
questions for you.
Yes.
First question might be a little bit easier to answer.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Which one do you think is better for research, Wikipedia or ChatGPT?
Wikipedia.
So all of the AI that's coming out about giving quick answers and stuff, you would say Wikipedia is better.
Well, yes, of course it is.
But ChatGPT uses Wikipedia as its background.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just use Wikipedia, does it?
Exactly. It uses more sources. So you could argue ChatGPT is actually more reliable than Wikipedia. But Wikipedia has had human editing.
Yeah.
Biased human editing, but still human editing.
But still human editing, yeah.
Both of them, I would argue, are poor sources. Like, I would never use a Wikipedia article to source anything or to use as my ideas, because I know it's biased, I know it's misinformed a lot of the time, and I know the sources oftentimes are very low quality. It's like a journal or like the Ness Labs blog. No shade on Anne-Marie, but the Ness Labs blog was used as a reference in a neuroscience Wikipedia page, and I'm like, sorry, you what? The blog has no references to any academia, and you've used it as a reference to a neuroscience page? No, just because she studies neuroscience doesn't make her, 1, a neuroscientist, 2, an expert in the field you're talking about, and 3, the reference that they used, she said like 4 words in the entire blog that actually was related to the point that it was referenced from. Like, no, that's not how references work, and that's not a high quality reference for the point you're making. Which, obviously, Wikipedia, bad thing. And ChatGPT does the same thing, except it doesn't have references, which is just bad. And to me, they are sort of on the same playing surface. They have pros and cons of both, so you could use both. And that leads me on to my next question, which is kind of a statement, but also a question. I think AI and ChatGPT is emphasizing the problems we already have.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes.
So does that mean we are also emphasizing the solutions?
No.
So how is it a positive? How is it a net positive?
It is bringing to light more of the problem.
I get that, but what I'm saying, right? We have a problem. We know there's a problem, and we brought in AI. And from what I can see, AI is boosting more of the problem points than it is boosting the solutions to the problem points.
When you're saying so the blanket statement of AI, to clarify,
ChatGPT.
That's what I want to clarify. Because then you look at things like, Elicit and what they're doing with AI.
Yeah. ChatGPT, I'm thinking like the Bing search chats and the Google.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify, because when you said AI, I saw all of them in the same thing. Yeah, I do think that tools like Elicit, I am hoping, will become more used as people use ChatGPT. More people like us converse around the problems of it, because people are talking about it. People are talking about the risks of it. It's happening. And I think through that and through the understanding that there are other tools that are better suited for things like research, my hope, and maybe I am naive, which I probably am, and I'm well aware of my naivete, it is tools like Elicit that are going to make a bigger difference in the long run. But just introducing people to technology in a way that allows them to use it opens up a lot of opportunities for people. Now, yes, a lot of opportunities for misinformation. Yes. But as people learn more and understand more, they question more.
I'm going to reframe it then. Google versus Google Scholar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, potentially, we've got ChatGPT versus something like Elicit. Google was favored over Google Scholar. Google Scholar was only used by academics, and Google was used by most people. And Google Scholar still has a lot of limitations and issues because it spouts out so much stuff. But it's better than Google, just normal Google. If we struggled to get people onboarded onto Google Scholar, how are we going to do that with Elicit or something like Elicit?
Don't know.
Because Google Scholar's got the Google name, and it's Scholar. It's easy, it's simple, everyone's there, everyone can use it. It's accessible.
However, if I go back to my experience as such, because I wasn't a researcher in my head or a person who was like that, I didn't think Scholar would be a good option. And even with Google Scholar, I have to download it and then try and read it and then try and understand it, which I can't understand because it's lots of complicated language. Whereas with Elicit, I'm able to ask it questions and get some information.
How?
What do you mean by how?
How do you ask Elicit? Like, what do you actually do? Because you don't just ask Elicit a question and then it give you the answer like ChatGPT. For those,
well, it shows me papers. So that's a good point. I have to figure out which papers are good papers, which is another thing. So I don't know in answer to that question. I think more sharing of researching methods to de-academitize whatever. Make it less about make it less about academics from the traditional viewpoint. Obviously not what we deem as academia and education, but I mean like structured education, which is so problematic.
But therein lies the issue. Like when we go all the way back to like the original point about AI emphasizing the problem and not emphasizing the solution, is the solutions are to in some way change formal education, educational systems, and the view of what academia is. Like they are known solutions. We need to alter the way the educational system works. Most academics agree on that and know about that. How you go about doing that with policy is obviously the problem because systems, governments, people get involved. AI doesn't help with that. And what you've just said is I completely agree. But how does AI help with that? Can it help with that? I don't know. And I don't
know whether it can help with that.
At the moment, I don't think so. So to me, at the moment, I see AI as a net negative when it comes to knowledge, learning, understanding, expertise, but a net positive for business. Because you can create more content. It's quicker to create content. It's easier to create content. It's easier to earn money. It's easier to copyright, to spell check, to do all of the things AI is good at, to speed, productivity in a traditional sense.
And then, so I'm glad you mentioned that because this is my point. I think for me, the benefit of that stuff taken care of is it gives more. I mean, that's a whole problem, but for me, the benefit of AI and the benefit of tools like that is it provides more space. It provides more space for me to do other things. So by improving productivity in the traditional sense, it provides me with a capacity to research more, to think more. And and this is just me because obviously I think critically anyway, because I think critically, it improves how I communicate for me. It improves the things that I'm saying and the stuff that I'm researching because I'm asking critical questions. Now, how that's going to expand to the wider world, who the heck knows? We all need to think more critically, in my opinion, but nobody does, which is, well, many people don't, which is the problem. But that's a problem that cannot be solved right now by AI.
So my question then is, when you look at all of the revolutions that's happened, when you've got like the wheels, the Ford system, like going through business and all the different revolutions that's happened, productivity's increased over and over and over again. And a lot of people have said exactly what you've said. Now I have more time to do X because I'm not spending it doing Y. And as much as they like to think that, what they end up doing is just more of the job because now they have more time to do more of the job. So how do you justify yourself to say, okay, I've now created more content than I was before. I can now go do research because now everyone's creating more content than they were doing before. So how do you then keep up with the competition if everyone's increased productivity with AI in the revolution?
Don't know. We'll have to find that out. I don't know. We are so early.
But my guess is, if everyone, like, take some arbitrary numbers, we all create one piece of content a week. I know that's very low, arbitrary numbers here. AI lets you do it faster, quicker, easier. Okay, now we have 3 pieces of content a week. You wanted to make 1 piece of content a week to be level with everyone else, but now everyone's making 3. You need to make 3 to be level with everyone else. So where you thought, oh, I'm now making more, I get more time. Well, I'm making it faster, I now get more time. You're not getting more time. You're just now doing the thing more efficiently, which you now need to do more of because everyone's doing it more efficiently. So instead of making 1 throughout the week, you're now making 3 throughout the week.
I'm not sure whether they are doing it efficiently. I mean,
more efficient than they were before, whoever it was.
Yes. And also, I think there is this, for me personally, I'm not in competition. Like I've stepped away from that competition thing because I won't ever produce as much content. Like that is me. But I will produce content that actually I've looked into and researched and is higher of quality. And I think for me, in the space that I inhabit, and for the people that I want to talk to, which is very much like very hyper focused, very like the one only thing that I can do right now, that's enough. I would love to make systematic change, and slowly and surely that will happen.
Will it?
Or maybe it won't. I don't know.
So someone's got to be the one pushing.
My naivete says eventually people will figure it out, but it will take a long time. And it probably won't even be in life. It probably won't even be in my lifetime. I wouldn't be surprised.
I would like to think some people can change that because there are so many people that don't like the way formal education works. I am yet to see or am aware of people with the power and influence to actually make the change doing the thing, because a lot of them that have the credibility, I don't like using the word, but a lot of them that have the credibility and the knowledge to do it want to be teaching or want to be educating, or they do CPD exercises for teachers. They don't, for whatever reason, there might be a political reason behind it, try and push policy change. Like, it's whether you agree or disagree with the transgender movement, they are making waves. Whether you like it or not, they are making waves and they are being noticed. And policies are changing. People are worried about what they do, don't do, should do, shouldn't do, changes to all areas of life, of living. And education is at the core of that. But because our education system sucks, and the way that we share information in the world sucks, it's very hard to make change. So even those people that are making big waves, because the system's so stuck in its old ways and education is difficult, the change is going to take time. So people are just sitting there worried. Do I do this? Don't I do this? And then you just
Yeah.
get conflicts, which is why we are more polarized now than we ever have been before. And I don't think AI is going to solve that. I think AI is going to emphasize some of the issues of that because people are going to use it. Obviously, use and abuse. That's what people do.
Yeah.
So I guess my urge, my question, I'm like, I want to know is what do we do? And to use a Seth Godin quote, we need more purple cows. We need more linchpins. We need more people that are critical thinking, that have critical thinking, that are, I don't want to say confident enough, but it's the only word that comes
It
to
is.
mind.
That is correct.
But yeah,
Confidence. Yeah.
confident
I mean,
enough to be like,
this is. I
I'm
mean,
different.
not to toot my own horn a little bit. I tried to. I was in the Notion space pretty early, and that was probably the first app that I've ever used. That was early, early, early.
Yeah,
I don't think I was even as early as yourself because you were right at the beginning. You explored it.
yeah,
Like
before
1.0.
databases.
Yeah. Wow, that's a scary thought. Anyway, and
It was slow as
that
well.
was still is.
True,
It's
true.
actually got faster though. It's not bad. It's not Obsidian, and I might possibly have persuaded someone to use Obsidian for something than Notion after showing them. But anyway, beside the point. Like, I I see a lot of people jumping on the Obsidian trend. Not sorry, not Obsidian. I wish more people were jumping on the Obsidian trend.
I was going to
Please.
say,
I've seen a
where are you
lot of
seeing
people
this?
jumping on the ChatGPT trend.
Millions, yeah.
Like everyone is, and I wasn't going to because I'm like, I know my stuff. I just stay in my little corner,
You got to leverage what you got, though. That's the way to
and
say
that's
it.
the point. Is the point that you were making of like there needs to be more purple cows. Well, I'm going to turn myself purple because
But
that's the
orange.
point. I'm an orange, yeah, exactly. Like I'm gonna be an orange cow because because ChatGPT has benefits as everything does, but it has massive drawbacks. And my aim with ChatGPT and the stuff that I want to talk about and I wish to talk about is about making it accessible to people, but still thinking critically about it as we go. I talk about it from a point of like, hey, this is not as hyped as it sounds. I am excited, yes, but these are the things you need to consider. And so, in terms of my own view of like, you need to think critically. Here's what I do. And I did a workshop around it, like, how do you create pieces of content? I'm like, yeah, I can help you make pieces of content with it, but here are the things I would consider. Understand the topic first. You have that domain knowledge and have enough, like, be confident in what you have and do not believe ChatGPT blindly because it's not always factual, and most of the time it's not, and just does have most of the common knowledge.
So my question then is, what makes you different? Because everyone from the academic space is saying ChatGPT is not trustworthy. You shouldn't use it. Blah blah blah, etc. etc. So that's not a new
I'm not
view,
saying
new
don't use
standard.
it.
No, but they're very pushy on its limitations. So what view idea is not necessarily unique, because I don't like using that word because it's a crap word. But what makes you stick out? What makes it? Oh my god, that's so different but cool as well. The
Don't know.
Okay,
I don't know because
okay.
I'm in it and I'm still navigating that space. But my idea is to. It's almost being in. It's boring, but it's being in the middle. You've got people like, oh, ChatGPT is going to change the world and do all these things and do all of this and do all of that, but it's not that, and it's also not going to destroy everything as such. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, which I know is probably not exactly purple cowy, but
that's a more black than white cow or more white than black cow. It's sort of leaning one way, but not sure which way yet.
yeah, it is at the moment, and it's me navigate. I just want to help reduce misinformation because everyone's talking like in the business world. It's like, oh, you can write full articles just by putting this one single line in with no context, no information, and it will produce content for you, and it'll be amazing and perfect. And I'm like, no, it will not. All people are going, SEO is bad. If you use SEO, like your SEO will suck because ChatGPT sucks and Google hates it. I'm like, no, that's not true.
there was a story that so this is again from academia. It's part of the research project I'm doing at the moment, and it was a story about a student
Yeah.
that wrote their essay with
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Oh
They
no.
couldn't write it in 2,000 words, so they outlined some questions. They got ChatGPT to answer those questions, and then they put it together to make, I think it's 3,500. And then they submitted it. They got their essay, their lecturer to mark their essay, and it got 2-2. Which, for those unfamiliar, first is at the top, then 2-1, then 2-2, then 3, then fail, basically. So it got 2-2, which is kind of like a B, and that was good. And when you look at it from face value, like, wow, that's impressive. But when you actually read how the lecturer marked the essay, the lecturer read the words, and it was a lazy essay, and it didn't really make much sense, and there were no references. No references. Okay, hold up. So they passed having no references. Question mark on the marking. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Exactly. Second point, he then said if they had added references from the module, they more likely would have got a higher 2-2 or a 2-1. And I'm like, hold up a minute. So you're not even going to check the references applied properly. You're just going to see if it's there. Okay, that's another problem. And then they said if there were some references in there to start with, it would have been more credible. So just adding a reference, even if it's fake, would have made it more credible. Now, to me, that's, again, AI giving the answers. It's giving a solution to the student, but it's emphasizing the problem we have with marking essays. So the problem isn't AI. The problem is the system and how we mark essays. The lecturer sucks at marking essays. And for people that are going to pass their degrees because they're using AI, I don't think that's a university problem. I don't think that's a university problem with AI. I think that's a university problem with the way that we mark academia.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. I don't think AI is the problem, nor is it the solution.
It's emphasizing the problem we already have, and because it's not emphasizing a solution in any way, because AI can't check AI
currently, I will point out it is possible to train the AI to probably do a better job at marking, but then
as the same problems.
We still have the same problems. Yeah,
because that was my immediate thought. I was like, oh, well, can't you just use AI to check AI? How is that helping a student learn? We've got
which is another reason why everything that I do, so one of the things that I've done is I've actually had pieces of content go in and I ask, so all of my uses of AI is around helping me produce better. That is my goal. It's not just to produce more, although I do produce more because it's kind of almost a side effect for me. And that, yes.
But what have you done? Thinking about ED, what have you done?
Oh, my brain hurts already today. What have I done?
You've added a part to your system and created a different environment.
Yeah.
Which suits your working style.
Yeah. Which is the now. Yeah. That right there is that put a pin in that one. That is what I'm doing. That is the purple cowy thing. It is continuing everything that I've already been doing, which is hilarious. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, I just continue the wheel that I'm already building. But that is it. That is the purple cow of what I do. It is more like adapting things to my learning style. So many times I hear people talking about technology. Not
learning style. Working style isn't a term in academia, which is why I used working style. Learning style is a misinformed term, which is why I avoided it.
Working style, yeah.
I'll fight you.
I wanted to poke you with that one. You're welcome. Yeah, to fit the way that I work, my own working style, the way I function as a human being. And I think that is all AI can do. It can I don't think exacerbate is the right word, but I can't think of a better one. It emphasizes what you already do. It can emphasize what you already do, which is the thing I am teaching in my workshops of like, it emphasizes what you already do. It's up to you to decide whether you're happy with that. It's your decision to like, it's around thinking about what you want to achieve, how you want to do things, and what you're looking to do, and just being more critical. So I'm teaching critical thinking, I suppose, in some way, shape, and form through the use of a fancy pants tool, which everybody in business wants to jump on right now. So I'm kind of just like, oh, I'm going in there and I'll book you.
I would argue that
Oh,
your blue cow element is not critical thinking. It's not using AI. It's changing your environment. It's using, I mean, whether you use ED or not,
I mean, yeah,
it's,
it is changing the environment.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
think it's the development of the environment you work in. Whether that's blue cowish, purple cowish, orange cow, whatever. I don't know if it's enough for me to say that it's creating a ruckus in the environment that you're working in yet, because I think there needs to be more tangible points, tangible ideas for it to really
Yes.
make waves. Because when you say to someone, "Oh, I'm changing the work environment to work for me," well, loads of people say that they're doing that. What does that mean? How does that tangibly
Yeah.
change what it is that you're doing? Obviously, that's something you're thinking through. Blah blah blah. So the way I see AI writing in general and ED and combining those together is AI, as we mentioned last week. AI is a tool to help the environment. However, it can also go the other way.
Yes.
It can also hinder the environment. And to me, I think it hinders the environment for more people than it does help at the moment. And I mean, it's going to take like 5 years for AI to actually get into the educational curriculums.
Yeah.
Like,
But then, I mean, as someone who has a kid, in the educational system, and he has an exceptional interest in learning anyway, and I think that is,
everyone does until
yes,
they go
I
to
know,
school.
and I am fostering that love for learning by saying and showing him things and teaching him it's not about what they teach you in the school fully.
This might be controversial.
Oh, here we go.
I would argue those that get disinterested at school, those that are misbehaving, those that get told off the most, are probably the most interested in learning. Because when you think about it, every human ever focuses on what they're interested in. If they're not interested in the thing, they get bored. Everyone does. What you do when you're bored will change. If you're bored enough, you will start trying to find your own interest. If you're sitting in a classroom and 25 or 30 people are bored and they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, thinking whatever, they're not bored enough to find something else to do. Those that are bored enough, i.e., traditional ADHD, neurodivergent, I don't like using those terms, because they're bored enough, they're now flicking paper at the wall, doing whatever, looking out the window because they're interested in learning.
Question.
Yes.
Why did you use that term if you didn't like it?
Because it's familiar for people that are listening.
So what do you want to use? I'm really like, because this is the thing, because I've been discussing, like, I'm using that language now from in my own way.
As in ADHD and neurodiverse.
ADHD and neurodiverse. I don't use neurodivergent, I use neurodiversity because it feels just that little bit more accurate. Divergent feels, yeah, that bugs me a little bit.
They all bug me.
I mean, they all bug you. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm intrigued why you chose to use it. Is it just an audience thing? And if so, what would you use instead?
It's an audience thing because it already has preconceived notions about what it is, what it means, and how they can describe it. And it saves me having to explain the nuances of my own explanation. The words I would choose to use are more vague. And
so you're using the terminology you don't like, as there is more specificity at that, like in this kind of.
Yes, there is more specificity, and because of the framing of the sentence, I don't think the misinformation around ADHD and neuroscience related to neurodevelopmental disorders, etc., etc., I don't think any of that impacts the use of the term in the context. Whereas if I was to use it in a different way, it may be seen as a crutch or something that is a reason not to do or to do certain things, and I don't think that would have happened in the context I used in.
Can
However,
you give
having
me an
said,
example of the two? I mean, I'm
yeah,
just really fascinated.
so if I was to say, reframing the sentence I was using about being distracted, ADHD people are more likely to learn because they're interested in something not being taught. I think that brings in misconceptions, because those with ADHD, it doesn't mean they're interested in learning. It just means that they're not paying attention to what it is that's going on, because that's what ADHD is, right? It's not paying attention. So attention and learning are drastically different things. Whereas because I've said they are bored, they're trying to find something else to learn, that's the attention bit explained, sort of gone into more depth. I'm like, they are bored because there isn't something, or they're bored enough that their attention is going elsewhere. Does that mean they could learn? Yes. So I've explained what I mean by attention, which is what people's misconception about ADHD is. Oh, it's all about attention deficit, blah, blah, blah stuff. So I've explained where the misconception could come from, and then use the term so they don't have that preconceived notion clouding what it is that it means. So they don't go, oh, attention means learning. No, I mean, they are bored enough to find something else to be interested in, which could lead to learning. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that was really, because I've been very, because obviously a lot of ED kind of, for me and for my neurodiversity, is making so much sense of like, oh, it's dynamic, it's not fixed. Well, duh, that's exactly how I feel. Except we're being told that it has to be fixed. Or there is a common misconception that it has to be fixed.
Try again.
Okay. There is an assumption.
Okay, going down the wrong route. So
Okay,
ED, you have an environment.
Yeah.
You learn from the environment.
Yeah.
You're trying to explain the other side of ED through IP. For those unfamiliar, ED is ecological dynamics, IP is information processing. So you're talking in ED, and then you're talking in IP. So how do you explain you're told there's one answer through ED? How do you explain that?
The environment that they're in. It is the environment that they're in, which is the environment that they're in. Talk from that perspective.
The environment they're in has constraints, which leads them to believe there is only one solution.
That is right. Yes. Yeah.
So
that's what I was trying to say, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the educational system is an environment that has so many constraints on it that people just assume there is one answer because they haven't been given the affordances to find out that there are other things going on.
Yeah.
Whereas in the real world, hey, there aren't all these constraints, like the time of a lesson, the amount of words you can write in an essay.
Gosh, yeah.
And all the other things that go on to cut you into a block of wood. Those constraints don't exist. And unless you take those constraints away when people are initially learning, they won't acknowledge that there is a constraint to start with. And that's the big problem in the educational systems is not the people know the constraint is there that's leading them to believe something. It's they don't even know there's a constraint there to remove in the first place, which means, I have a problem because I don't fit in this environment. No.
Yeah, I am the problem. I need to be fixed. I need to be repaired. It's all my fault, which leads to what we have in the space of people going, no, screw this. There's nothing wrong with me.
Hence social construct, because it's socially constructed.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so glad that we spent quite a while talking about that one, because it's very true. And it's being able to just work in our own environment and have a different environment with different affordances, different constraints, or less constraints, or more constraints, or different ones. And being able
Still working on my essay.
Yeah, I bet. Like I haven't even started to try and consider how I would put that into a business context. I mean, I am, just indirectly.
If someone asks me personally to explain it, I can do that. That's easy. You want me evidence? Got that. Got it easy. You ask me to do a video that's going to be online potentially for the next 2-3 years. Right.
It's a lot of pressure, isn't it? I can imagine. Like,
if I say one word that's slightly out and misunderstood, I suddenly get an entire tribe blasting me. And I'm fine with that, but the
Mm.
idea is for it not to be conflict. The idea is for it to be a conversation, moving a conversation forwards. But it is a purple cow idea in the world online right now. Like when you look online, people are too scared to say ADHD is false or ADHD is a myth. Like they don't want to say that because then they're going to belittle those people. And I'm not saying it's false, and I'm not saying it's a myth. What I am saying is it's socially constructed, which means different things.
See, this is interesting. So inside of the, I'll call it neurodiverse environment, we know this. We're aware of it. And I've had conversations with people in person, one on one, of like exploring that. And people are like, yeah, yeah, that's right. That's how I feel. I don't like I suppose the glorification of ADHD, because it is a glorification. I can get so much trouble. It's great. It is the glorification of ADHD.
We can bring this back as well. AI,
Yeah.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
when you look for ADHD and neurodiverse content, it immediately goes to what's being shared online.
I know. Believe me, I know.
I assume you've done some research, and it
Oh, I
immediately
have, and I'm crying in a corner. However, see, interestingly, and one thing I want to go back into again, because I first explored it ages ago, it's interesting when I start asking it to behave like Gibson, because that's fascinating, the stuff that comes out of that. And I quite enjoy it. And I've combined like
have you tried combine Gibson with ADHD?
yes. I can't remember the results because they were a very long time ago. But that's something that is my next little play and experiment to see what happens, because they will contrast quite. Actually, do I still have it? I might even still have it.
I was going to say it should be in your chat log. The reason I'm intrigued, so for those unfamiliar, J.J. Gibson is the person that they didn't necessarily create ecological psychology, but they were a big driving force of ecological psychology and therefore the creation of ecological dynamics, combining ecological psychology with dynamical systems theory to create what we've been speaking about, which is ecological dynamics. And J.J. Gibson uses perception, attention through eyes, through mechanisms as well, to try and change the way that we perceive information. And instead of it being indirect processing inside of the mind and having to use memories to perceive information, there's a suggestion of direct perception, where you directly perceive what's going on. And it's the attunement of information in the environment that essentially decides whether you have expertise or not. So while John carries on, I'll just give you an example. Cristiano Ronaldo is in the penalty box. This famous example in skill acquisition. He's in the penalty box, ball's crossed in, the room goes black, and he's got to try and kick the ball in the goal or head the ball in the goal. So he can't see the ball. One explanation through indirect perception is from all of his past experience. When the ball was kicked, he can predict where the ball is going to be to get the ball into the goal. That's one possible solution. The other solution through direct perception is Ronaldo was looking at the way the player kicked the ball, and because of the attunement of the information, so instead of looking at the ball, he was looking at the way the player moved. He then knew where the ball was going to land when the player kicked the ball to start with, because it's directly perceived from the environment, and he then just moved into position. He wasn't predicting where the ball was going to go the entire time. He knew as soon as the ball was kicked. And those both give examples that could work, and they are competing hypotheses, IP versus ED. And J.J. Gibson, with this direct perception, with neurodiverse ADHD, because neurodevelopmental disorders is typically through cognitive psychology, i.e., we have a working memory, we have a short-term memory, this is how we learn information. Neurodevelopmental disorders suggest, oh, you have a shorter working memory or a smaller working memory. But if it's smaller, but you've already received all that information from direct perception, how does that matter? It shouldn't matter in theory. And then you can argue about different chunk sizes and schema, and it gets very complicated very quickly. Did you find it?
No, I was just writing it again. I think I closed it because I had way too many tabs at one point. So
okay.
what I'm doing now is I'm just making sure it understands who JJ Gibson is, which it does enough. Gibson's work focused on the relationship between perception and action. And he proposed that perception is not just a matter of passively receiving information from the environment, but is an active process of actively gathering information through direct interaction with the environment.
Direct perception, what I just rambled on about.
Yeah, basically.
Well, that's at least clarification that ChatGPT and I are on the same wavelengths.
Yeah, this is why I always ask before I go, you are this person.
Yes. But yeah, so that's a brief explanation of ecological dynamics. And it's going to be interesting to see how J.J. Gibson, because he looks at direct perception and actively perceiving information from the environment and using the environment to learn. That wasn't all J.J. Gibson, because a lot of ED has developed since his initial papers. So his work is kind of like right at the start. I mean, you've got people like Bernstein that does like repetition without repetition, and other researchers as well that are very similar, that have moved the field on in the skill acquisition space. But skill acquisition is motor movement, whereas ADHD typically is a neurodiverse disorder, which is associated with cognitive learning rather than motor learning. And J.J. Gibson's obviously perception, action, motor learning. So it's going to be interesting to see what it comes up with.
That's quite interesting.
What's it come up with?
Gibson,
You can share your screen.
always said, I'm a language model, so I can't tell you. And I'm like, yeah, just fucking tell me, get on with it.
Oh,
this is interesting. I haven't read it, so I don't know how good it's actually going to be, but I'm like, oh, interesting. Gibson's ecological perspective on psychology might have led him to view ADHD as a problem with the fit between the individual and their environment, rather than as a purely internal cognitive deficit. He might have argued that the symptoms of ADHD result from the individual's difficulty in adapting to the demands of their environment. From this perspective, the symptoms of ADHD can be seen as a result of a mismatch between the individual's perceptual and motor abilities and the demands of their environment, rather than as a result of a deficit in the individuals themselves. I'm just basically describing what I talk about all the time right now.
You're literally explaining what I just said and what I said in my ADHD rant.
Gibson's psychological approach in psychology would emphasize the importance of considering the environment and the individual's interaction with it, and understanding and treating ADHD rather than solely focusing on internal cognitive processes.
Yeah. So, I told you so.
and this is, and I mean, we can expand this further, and you can imagine, instead of imagine you are, I should have put imagine you are, and then it would have. Yeah. You could play within that sphere, and what I did originally was actually have it as imagine you are a Gibsonian something or other, however you would pronounce it, so that you're not just him. I can't remember what exactly the phrase I used, but imagine you are this type of person. I'm going to ask you questions around ADHD, neurodiversity, and I would like to hear how it relates to what I have actually done is dynamical systems theory and ecological dynamics, because they kind of quite interesting.
Say that again. How do you have dynamical systems theory and ecological dynamics? Because you basically said the same thing twice.
Yeah, I know, but I've given the AI more information.
Right.
I wonder whether
when you type in ecological dynamics into literally any search engine, it comes up with like ecology and animals, and I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. I have to specifically say ecological dynamics in skill acquisition for motor learning. Otherwise, it just brings up loads of animals. It refers to study how populations of different sod off. Species, animals, ecosystems. No, that's not what I'm talking about. So I haven't tried it in ChatGPT. I tried it in search engines. Try what is ecological dynamics in skill acquisition and motor learning, and see if it actually comes up. Because if you type it into any search engine,
you have to say that again. What is ecological dynamics?
Oh, sorry. In my head, I just assumed you knew what I meant. So what is ecological dynamics in skill acquisition and motor learning? You can spell check.
And it doesn't even need it. It will pretty much, it's equitation.
There's an S in it. Acquisition.
There we go.
Yeah. That should do.
I don't know why I've got capitals, but we'll just deal with that.
Skill acquisition and motor learning refers to the study of how individuals interact and adapt to their environment in order to learn and improve their motor skills. It's kind of obvious because that's literally just repeated what I said in the sentence.
Bearing in mind, I am doing what most people use ChatGPT for. Just that. I would not write it like that.
Yeah. I'm just going to skim read the rest of this. Blah blah blah. In ecological dynamics. Blah blah blah. What? Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Okay. Nuance needed.
Yeah,
Also, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's not wrong. It's not wrong, but it's not right either. But again, that's ChatGPT, and then you end up going down the lines of, okay, well, what's accurate, what's not accurate, where's the proof, where's the evidence, blah blah blah, and cycling back to what we said to start with, really. And then now John's asking a question to: Is the above correct? Is the above correct and providing all the context? Yes, the information provided is correct. It's sure. Overview of ecological dynamics. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you've just repeated this. It highlights the key concepts and environments, dynamics. I'm speed reading this, so for people listening, I am actually reading the words. my eye, because I've only got one working one, moves quicker than my mouth does. Which is why I speak so quickly, and people are like, you speak so quickly. I'm like, no, I don't. My brain is moving faster than this. Yeah, it's basically just tried to justify itself and said, no, I am right. Just in like 5 sentences. Sure,
yeah, and it will prioritize the shorter responses because that's what it's designed to do, which is why I always ask not for an overview. It's still not.
Yeah, we're reading the answers now. I don't understand where it's got holistic from. Is it just a buzzword that's come in? Because holistic coaching is in a different field to ecological dynamics. It can be applied in ecological dynamics, of course, but holistic coaching implies other elements, and depending on the definition of holistic coaching, you could bring in like cognitive, and when you bring in cognitive to ecological dynamics, you now need to understand, okay, well, what are we talking about? You need to be specific. Well, you would in academics anyway, if you were writing for a journal. For example, the size and shape of a tool can influence the way it's used. I assume it's talking about constraints. Yeah, constraints. In the conclusion, ecological dynamics is skill acquisition and motor learning. I hate that it says the same thing over and over, but okay. Provides a comprehensive and dynamic view of how individuals learn and improve their motor skills. No shit, Sherlock. This is again one of those things where, for me, if I was researching this without an AI, I would have gone to Elicit, found a couple of systematic reviews, and then looked at the discussion point. And reading through the discussion point, I'd read through the answers to all these questions that we're asking ChatGPT now, but I'd read it in what I would class as a comprehensive story rather than answers given. So for me, I would prefer using academic papers, but for the general population, I'd understand using this.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as someone that knows the area, as we mentioned earlier, it's not wrong, but it's leaving out a little bit of nuance, and it leaves it open to interpretation, which is fine, but it doesn't dismiss any potential misinterpretations, which is where misinformation can be fostered. And that, I mean, we're getting to the point now where we might as well read an academic paper because we're reading like an article's worth of answers.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is the point where I'm just like, yeah, all right. But what I actually think when you do so, what I added in is that do not repeat yourself and provide a novel response. This one's I got from someone on the internet because it's quite a good one. It goes against the grain and tries to find actual information. Sorry, that was a naughty thing to say, but like trying to find information that isn't just publicly everywhere. It's trying to dive a bit deeper into the topic, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. It's a bit, yeah, meh.
I'm going to rant now about something.
Oh, here we go. Let me stop sharing. Go.
Novel, unique, original content.
Words. I know.
Throw them out. Get rid of them. Throw them in a bin. And I love saying this. So when people say I've written something novel, I can say, great, I've got something novel for you as well. I know the exact position of the equipment on my desk. That's novel information. It's unique information. It's also original. But no one gives a shit. Like, no one cares. Just because it's novel, just because it's original, just because it's unique, doesn't mean squat.
I agree, but it's funny. But the words matter to the AI.
Oh yeah, I know, but it matters to the AI because it matters to people.
Yeah, I know.
So the best way, it's not the best way, but the way you then go, okay, well, how can I make writing that isn't useless? Well, create value. How do you create value? Have you asked
How do you
AI how you
define
create
value?
value?
What is value?
Have you asked AI how to create value? I've been trying to do that for the last 2 days, and you know what it's come up with? The
Well,
same friggin' points all the internet says.
mm,
Give something your audience wants. Really? Couldn't work that one out myself. um, and value is so subjective because it's part of social science that you need to add nuance. And it needs to be an essay's worth of information because a perfect example here is when you have a subject of a sentence. Let's use a really crude example. A cat and a dog, right? Cat is a subject, dog is a subject. If you like cats and I say the cat chased the dog, you're focused on the cat and it's easier to comprehend the sentence. So you just go, oh yeah, the cat chased the dog. If you're still focused on cats and say the dog was chased by the cat, you have to do some mental gymnastics to go, okay, right. Yeah, so okay, I get that now. If your subject in your head is the dog and you say the dog first, it's easier. And you say the dog second, it's harder. So if you're writing a sentence to a specific audience that likes cats, you will change where the subject is in the sentence, which changes the value of the sentence. That is, to me, basic sentence structure in academics when you're writing to an audience. I couldn't get ChatGPT to tell me that, no matter how many times. I literally had to spell it out for it, and it still changed it because it didn't understand the concept of subject of a sentence. It kept going to nouns and verbs. I'm like, that's not what I mean.
I just have to do something because I want to see your response.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I was in my own little world ranting at myself. What is? I see coach.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to see what you did.
Okay, you talk while I read this through.
So, people who don't know, for people who are listening, I've just typed in what is a business coach, and Danny and I have had countless conversations around coaching, and yeah, this isn't my read very quickly and not reading the full thing because I kind of know what it's going to come up with. It's not a coach. It's an advisor or a consultant, not a coach. But this is the common view of what a coach is, which is why I find it fascinating.
It loves goals. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I know.
It loves goals. Helps them achieve their goals. Helps them get their goals. Helps them with
No, they
goal
don't. It doesn't help
setting.
them do anything because it's not up to the coach. The coach isn't. The coach doesn't provide goals. It doesn't make them achieve goals. This is the common viewpoint in business that coaching.
It's literally got 3 paragraphs about a coach is helping create goals and make goals and then get the goals done through problem solving or action planning. It's just all about goals. I'm like, okay, right. What if you don't have a goal? Or what if your goal is dynamic? Or what if you have open goals instead of closed goals? Or what most people will be familiar with, smart goals. What if you don't have any smart goals as a business owner? And I don't know, you're a creator online. Yeah, where goals are very difficult to like mediate. Oh, I want loads of subscribers, but subscribers doesn't actually get me to my financial goals. So I'm going to have a financial goal. But I actually don't want a financial goal because I want to be happy in what it is that I'm doing. How can you meet all of those goals? You can't. You need someone to help you navigate that world. That's what a coach is. And asking you questions to help with your own reflective practice. I see you're rephrasing the question.
Interesting. A business coach is a professional consultant.
Who helps entrepreneurs?
I mean, there's a number of problems that who helps entrepreneurs, small business owners, and executives. No. A good coach cannot do all three at the same time. It is nuanced. If you are a consultant, it's different. It's nuanced.
Do you remember the definition of effective coaching?
Not off the top of my head.
Do you remember the last 4 words?
No.
5 words even.
No.
In a specific coaching context.
Yeah. Oh,
could,
yeah. So, yeah.
specific coaching context. So you could for entrepreneurs or for small business owners or for executives. If you
See,
can do
this thing here,
yeah,
this thing here,
business
this thing
coaches
here.
are not therapists. What? Therapists or therapists? Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, they're not therapists, and their focus is not on personal issues. Not what? It's not on personal issues. That's exactly
But
what a
on
coach is
business
doing.
related problems. Yeah. Yeah. That's what a coach. But that is the common viewpoint on business coaches. I have seen business coaches selling their product saying, you are not supposed to deal with personal issues and talk about personal things because it's a business focus. Well, yeah, but business is personal. So where is the nah?
Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek said that work-life balance doesn't exist. It's a fallacy. It's not a thing because you can't balance between work and life because they are the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I don't agree with everything he says, but yes, that is one thing I do agree with.
But that's what it means to be someone that's pushing ideas. You're going to have things that people disagree with and failed ideas and things that don't make sense. So I think if you disagree with what someone says but agree with something else someone says, I think that makes them more likely to be a thought leader. If you agree with everything someone says, I don't think they're a thought leader. I think they're someone that's emphasizing one viewpoint. That could sound controversial. That could sound narrow-minded.
You know what? Yeah.
If you agree with everything someone says, I don't think that person is doing anything to push ideas, push knowledge, be original, create challenging thoughts, or move a conversation forwards. Because to move a conversation forwards, you need to create dissonance and conflict to try and find a resolution. If you're going, yes, I agree, yes, I agree, yes, I agree, are they just saying stuff that you're going to agree with? If they are, then they're biased because they're biasing your points of view.
Yeah.
Something politicians do very, very well.
Oh, yes. But yeah, business coaches makes me sad. Most business coaches aren't business coaches. They're not coaches. They're not coaches.
I'm pulling my headphones out. Can't see a thing. I did that yesterday as well on another call.
Well done. Excuse me. I said that business coaches aren't coaches.
No, I heard it and then I pulled it out as I moved my arm up.
Because they're not.
No, but so I was. This is going to be a bit of a roundabout story.
Here we go.
I was talking to my lecturer yesterday, my old lecturer. He's senior lecturer of 2 courses. I was speaking to him about where the course is going, development's going. We'll talk about AI stuff a bit here and there, talk about some bikes. And anyway, and what he was talking about was SIMSPA. I brought up SIMSPA before, and for those unfamiliar, SIMSPA is an organization inside of the UK. It's called the Chartered Institute for the Management of Sport and Physical Activity. So those inside of physical activity, you'll know, hopefully, you'll know who they are. Essentially, they're a governing body to try and create professionalism inside the physical activity sector. So instead of someone doing a weekend course to be a PT and then doing PT sessions for loads of random people and they don't know what they're doing, SIMSPA are saying, hey, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're doing. You're not qualified. To put it bluntly. And what they're trying to do is bring up the quality of professionals inside of sport and physical activity. So strength and conditioning coaches, there's now a tiered plan. Rather than you having to do a master's degree to become a strength and conditioning coach, you can now be an S&C trainer and then something else and then moving forwards. Still giggling. And what they're doing is they're trying to bring quality assurance to coaching as well. So sports coaching is in there. But there are only 5 universities that have this accreditation currently for their coaching courses. And to my shock, some universities don't even have a qualified coach. I'm talking strength and conditioning here, but it's similar across the board in other fields. They don't even have a qualified strength and conditioning coach lecturing people to become a strength and conditioning coach. So how do you lecture and teach something that you don't have expertise in? I don't understand how you get there. And where I'm going with this inside of the business coaching is, how can a business coach something if they're not a coach? How can you coach if you're not a coach? Perfect example from the sports world. You have a professional athlete. There are plenty of examples here. And they go into managing. They suck. They go into coaching. They suck. They get fired so quick because they don't know how to coach. They can play sport, but they can't coach. And business is exactly the same. They can run a business, but they can't coach. They are two different skill sets. Rant over.
Yes. Pretty much. Yeah. And it's interesting. I've been behind the scenes of a number of businesses who are in the business world. There is, I think it's ICF, something like that, for coaching.
International Coaches Federation.
Yeah. Mm.
The thing is, with ICF, is their definition for coaching is so broad, they encompass essentially every area of coaching. So that's sports coaching, strength and conditioning coaching, health coaching, well-being coaching, business coaching, like all the areas, it's there. But like I said, with the effective definition of coaching, coaching in specific coaching context. And because ICF tries to cover every coaching context, it can't be specific.
Yeah, so I must admit, because that was something that I was looking into doing, because, qualifications, blah, 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 I like them. They're yummy.
Yeah, a piece of paper.
A piece of paper.
Or just print it off and just write your own name.
Yeah.
Fraud.
Disclaimer, we are not actually suggesting that.
Disclaimer, I have a sense of British humor.
Yes, that is for our American.
Oh, there was the Spider-Man actor, I can't remember, and he said to the American producers at Marvel, Tom Holland said to the American producers at Marvel, "Oh yeah, it would be funny to for me to go back to high school as an English student." And the Marvel producer was like, "Oh yeah, that's a really good idea." And Tom was like, "No, that was sarcastic. That was my British sarcasm." But the producers took it seriously.
And did it? I know. I've seen it. I've watched that. It's really funny.
Perfect. And I'm the same. So when I'm like, I'm sarcastic, but will the Americans understand this? Sorry, Americans, but you are the majority of people that watch my content.
I think I managed. I'm not sure whether I can't pick up on the social cue anyway, but because it was just a chat message, so I had no context. I made an American. I did a ChatGPT workshop around advanced prompt design for a group because someone had done something similar, and I cried because it wasn't actually providing any context that people can use to make. Anyway. So I did a free workshop, and as part of that, during the whole session, they were talking, "Oh, what happens when it's not working? When is it the best time to go in?" I say, if you're in the UK early in the morning, because the Americans ruin everything, and I think I offended an American. I did clarify afterwards. I'm like, that is sarcasm, British sarcasm, and I think the vast majority of Americans realized I was being sarcastic just after I clarified I was being sarcastic, but oh well. But now I have Plus, so I don't care because I get access all the time. Way too happy about that.
I use the playground and I haven't had it go down yet. I've been using
it. Yeah, the playground is good, but it's not as conversational. It does lack a little bit that ChatGPT has. It's very, yeah. I use Playground when I want a broader thing. I use ChatGPT when I want to go specific, and then if I want the internet as well, I use Barely AI, because Barely AI actually can connect and get modern information, whereas ChatGPT and GPT-3 can't.
Well, with Bing and their use 3 prompts, and I will give you the answers to them, AI chat integration.
I haven't tried it. I did actually. It made me download Edge because I was intrigued.
Well, I use Edge anyway. So I mean that was quick, that was easy, but like they give you like 3 or 4 different examples of how it will work in the future, but it doesn't actually work. You have to go on a wait list, and I'm like, so you've released a wait list. You haven't released the feature. You've released the wait list.
I was annoyed. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting to play it, not.
Yes. Considering ChatGPT is functional, it works. It's live already.
And they're using GPT. They are using ChatGPT's functionality. They're using GPT.
They're using GPT-4. Yeah, they're using GPT-4 in the Bing. And I watched an interview with one of the Bing developers, and they were saying that because of all the ethical implications and how it uses live data and how it needs to try and censor out some information, they're going to restrict the questions you can use to start with to try and censor stuff out. And I was like, that makes sense, like as a business point, because they don't want stuff going in that's bad. So when you're asking for like general stuff like, oh, I need recipes for this, or give me some ideas to cook, or what can we do on a day out family sort of thing, like those sorts of things, yeah, easy, done, fine. But when you get more ethically scary, I guess you could say, that's where they're like, where do we draw the lines? Which I don't think there is going to be an answer to, because we're trying to draw the line to online content and fake news now, and we've had the internet for how many years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be an answer to wires. I don't think there's going to be an answer to that anytime soon. And people are always going to argue, especially in the world that we're in at the moment, where like we used to be sort of like polarized, sort of like next to each other, and now we're like, wee.
Yeah.
So far apart.
Would you like me to annoy you
again?
Effective coaching can be defined as a process of guiding, mentoring, and supporting individuals to help them achieve their personal or professional goals. Effective coaching involves creating a supportive and empowering environment that allows the individual to grow, learn, and develop new skills and behaviors. And effective coach uses a variety of techniques, such as active. Even I'm getting annoyed.
Don't tell me.
Such as active listening, questioning, feedback, and goal setting. Here we go again. To help the individual gain insight, clarify their vision, and take action towards their desired outcomes. Effective coaching also requires the coach to have a deep understanding of human behavior and development, as well as the ability to adapt to the unique needs and circumstances of each individual.
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong, no, but it's also not.
That's the sort of answer I'd get from like a BTEC student in like college or sixth form. Like a BTEC student's just like Googled it and then just written some stuff that they found on Wikipedia or whatever. Like, yeah, that'll do. That'll get me a merit or a distinction. Yeah, that's fine. But it doesn't actually tell you anything useful. And most coaches will look at that and go, okay, you haven't told me anything. There is, to use the value term, there is no value in that answer at all.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you how. I mean, I did ask, what is the definition? I didn't say, how do I become an effective coach? That's a very...
Yeah, because, I mean, like I say, it's not wrong, but because we're talking social science, and we're not talking something like maths and physics and coding, mechanics, engineering, we're not talking about those sorts of fields, we're talking about social science. There are inherently subjective and philosophical differences. It's just got goal settings, isn't it?
No, it's worse.
Well, you're not sharing screen.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's also not right. Oh, no. You're not sharing screen. I'm getting angry with it already, and I'm not even looking at it because I'm not giving. So this is the thing. This is why you got to use it properly. This is why you got to use it effectively. If you don't use it effectively, it gives you stupid shit like this. Immediately, get an education, get a coaching certificate from a reputable coaching school or organization.
Okay. What institution? Where? What field? Why? What does the certificate give me that I can't figure out on my own?
And then just immediately relying on just active listening skills. There are so many other skills, and skills alone aren't enough.
Excellent listeners, and are able to truly understand what their... I assume that's
what do you mean by truly understand, ChatGPT? What do you mean?
But this right here is exactly why I use academic papers, because it's just too broad. It's sweeping statements. It's generalized information, which I mean, going back to the way we learn, it's exactly the way we're tested. We are tested to explain basic, broad things. put in a question that you would actually ask ChatGPT using all your information and prompts to understand like what is effective coaching. Like put something in that explains explains what effective coaching is. Put in like a business context, just for it to try and be
Okay. All right.
as specific as it can. This is probably going to be one of our longer episodes as well.
Yeah, because we're getting excited. How do you become an effective business coach? Prioritize novel. That gives nuance. Gives a
Novel information.
Detailed take.
And gives a nuanced, detailed take. No. I'll prioritize. No. Okay. Yeah. Because the information that ChatGPT uses and all AI tools use isn't wrong.
Can you give me the definition of effective coaching, please?
But the full one.
That I could basically, I need to tell it what I mean by effective coaching, and then it will give me more. Yes, I know that. Don't even go there.
The consistent. I'm waiting for you to get to that point. Is the consistent application
consistent application
of interpersonal, intrapersonal, and professional knowledge to enhance the competence, confidence, connection, and character for athlete outcomes, for business outcomes, in specific coaching contexts. The consistent application of professional interpersonal knowledge.
In a what? Sorry,
in a specific coaching context. That might not be the exact quote, but that's as close as I can remember.
That's what it needs to be. As long as it's close enough. I mean, this is way better than what we're going to get.
Yeah. I tried to include all of the words that I have in my head from the 06 paper.
In this example, the specific coaching context is I'm going to use the language. There we go. I'm going to correct my spelling because I can never spell competence. I'm not very competent at spelling competence. Prioritize nuance and detailed takes that work against the grain. I might actually prioritize nuanced.
I actually have the definition.
I'm going to use just that. I'm intrigued. Because what I've done here, so as a quick little lesson, I've said I've explained what an effective business coach is. And then anything that I didn't, I'm intrigued to see how much it picks up. I mean, this is already slightly better. It's giving more detail. Interesting. It's better, but it's still not right.
I've just pasted the actual quote inside the Zoom chat, so you could use that. I was close. I just went into my Obsidian to find it. Education and training. Start by gaining a solid understanding of business principles. Okay. Develop into that. Important to be able to build strong relationships with clients. They basically just explained the points that we've given. Build trust and rapport with. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's generalized two different areas of knowledge. Gain business experience. Okay. Practice and refine your skills. They're all so obvious. It's like
I shouldn't have. I'm gonna put the novel back in.
Yeah, go for it. It's just oh. You see my struggle. Like, this is what I've been doing for the last 2 days, really, trying to get something to work that goes beyond what's obvious and slaps you in the face. No, before becoming an effective business coach for
better. No, you're about to say this again, aren't you? You're going to say it again. Okay.
and challenges, neurodiverse individuals.
Maybe I put neurodiverse. I know.
Oh yeah, I know, but it's just understand coaching context. So it's just said understand what neurodivergent individuals mean. When you're like, duh, build your interpersonal skills, communication. Okay. Basically saying communication is important to build a relationship. Well, duh. If you don't communicate, you can't build a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would
go deeper. Tell it to go deeper.
Yeah, I will. Can you take each of these points above and go deeper?
I mean, having read one paper about this, about coaching, like just the one paper that it's 09, not 06, my bad. I would know far more than that. And reading the paper takes me like 15 minutes. Research and educate yourself. Unique strengths, gain a thorough understanding of specific needs to challenges.
It is missing a lot. There is a lot missing there.
Yeah. Like a coaching context doesn't mean understanding the difficulties of I mean, yes, it can be difficulties of those people, but there's more to it than that. Which
so what I did do is I said to do all of them. So what I might do, is I might do this.
Yeah, because I just take. Yeah, I was going to say just take the one and expand on one, so we can just go through it. Because for exploration purposes, it's interesting, but we have expertise that we're going, hey, no, I don't like that. That's not right. Whereas the Gen Pop, I don't think would have that sort of information. Like if you're trying to find out something about a medical issue and you're using a chatbot to answer that question for you, are you going to go, no, that's not right. That's not the right medication. That's not the right dosage. That's not a medication at all. I don't think you have that expertise. Take number one and create a detailed outline and understanding coaching context, as well as specific context related to neurodiversity. And then I assume you're going to say, oh, you've asked it to use jargon.
Yeah. If you ask it to use it, I can't talk and write. That's more appropriate.
Well, type technically, because you're not writing, you're typing. You see,
same thing. I thought jargon where appropriate, but at the end of the document,
use jargon where appropriate, but at the end of the document, provide a description of an explanation of what.
You know how hard this is.
Your working memory is overloaded.
Oh yeah, my working memory.
Yeah, no, most people struggle to think what's going on if someone's reading something out, and it's the same. So I was reading an article. This is sort of related to working memory. They tested how people can work with sort of conflicting noise essentially going on. They were testing the phonological loop, which is part of working memory. And people with ADHD and people without ADHD both struggled just as much. If you try it, I mean, it was not for neurodiverse individuals. It was not testing that. It was testing the phonological loop. And if you add information into the environment that you're in that is conflicting, i.e. you're trying to listen to something and also use the same part of your brain that requires you to comprehend whatever's going on, you can't comprehend two things at once. Everyone knows that. So you can't like listen to something that's saying what you've just done because it moves you back in time in your head, but you're trying to stay forward. So it adds more, to use another cognitive psychology term, cognitive load. We've got some letters in there as well.
It's awful.
Is there anything in here that's useful? understanding the coaching context, importance of understanding the coaching, understanding the specific context, understanding the. I just want to like smack my head against the wall and go, yeah, obvious, but I don't think we're going to get anything else from it, because, like I said, I've tried this and it doesn't have the information. It doesn't have the expertise. It is just a, sorry, this is going to sound insulting, it's just a dumb student. For those that are actually wanting to learn something, if you're right at the start, great.
Yes.
Yes. If you're a little bit beyond the start, use it for brainstorming, maybe, but
yeah, that's exactly how I use it. That's exactly how I personally use it. And prioritizing content that is stuff it understands. Like asking about ChatGPT is amazing. Like I got great nuanced takes about itself. It's great. But ask it about actual human things, then you're having problems. Nah, it's starting to understand what I actually want it to do now.
How is jargon? How is coaching context a jargon?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever. What is it with neurodiversity? Go down. I'm curious what. It had neurodiversity. The natural diversity of human brain function and neurological development, including individuals with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and other neurodevelopmental conditions. Conditions? It's normally disorders, but okay. Conditions. You have a condition. I don't like that. I think
me neither, but we'll leave that one alone.
Yeah.
So the more context you can now, bear in mind, I've not, what I would usually do if I actually wanted to do this properly would use a context from someone who I would make them imagine they are someone who has experience, because right now it's just searching the internet. So I would add a little bit more context.
Searching its background data.
Yeah. Searching its background data and getting that information from there. I would probably figure out who I could imagine you are this type of person and you are sharing this type of information. So for example, if I was talking about this, I could probably use Gibson as an example. Like imagine you are Gibson with knowledge of this, explain this. And that gives a little bit more nuanced and allows it to zoom it in. The problem here, as we've been saying, is that it's too generalized. It's too like everything. It's trying to provide everything, in which it provides basically nothing for anyone who has more than a tiny bit of expertise.
I think this could be a really interesting point for content creators in general, and the way audiences can consume content is, if you can, this is something that I might actually experiment with. If you can type in the title of a video on YouTube or the title of a blog article and ask ChatGPT to explain it, and if the content creator doesn't add anything unique, the content creator has not delivered any value. That's what I would argue. I would argue if a content creator, whether that's on video, on a podcast, or a blog, if they can't add something that ChatGPT can't come up with, then it's not adding any value to the conversation. Because if ChatGPT can come up with it, it's been said enough online for it to be at the top of its suggested list, because we know that there is information online that ChatGPT doesn't deem as important enough. It's low enough on the matrix that it grades information on. However, that information may be higher quality because it's from an academic paper, just saying. So it's said enough for ChatGPT to get it. And if you're adding value, normally it's going to be potentially contradictory. It's probably going to say you're wrong in some way, and it's going to make you think about something in a different way. And if a content creator doesn't do that, I personally get bored of the content and leave the content. And that, I think, could be a nice check.
Yeah. Because once again, I was discussing this in the workshop I ran, it doesn't have context. It doesn't have your context, doesn't have your nuance, doesn't have anything that you have. Which is where I feel a lot of the business content is just surface level stuff, because it gets people in your funnel and that's what it's taught. But I'm not interested in that. I want to provide nuance. And this is a great starting point just to start a conversation and get your brain thinking. I only view ChatGPT as, I don't think I've said this to you, it reduces inertia. That's it. It is a way to get you in, because I'm there thinking, okay, cool. Well, I know that this isn't quite right for me, and I'm not happy with this. So I will now go to a different AI tool that is specifically designed for that to help me, because then I'm actually going to get it. The environment that the AI is in is different, providing different constraints. The information is different, which is why I love Elicit better than I like ChatGPT for deeper dives into research. And what I love about Elicit is that it brings that to don't like the term, normal people, because you can ask these questions, you can get more, and then you can just ask it to say, well, what does this mean? What is it trying to say about that? And it will look at that.
I think the difference between Elicit and ChatGPT, the fundamental difference, is Elicit's answers are human.
Yes.
The human-generated answers from AI search algorithms, whereas ChatGPT is an AI-generated answer
from a human, and that's why you have to put that human knowledge in there. And another app that's actually not too bad at this is Barely AI. They don't use ChatGPT and GPT-3. They have GPT-3 plus human knowledge. They have more, and I can't remember the exact term. I need to go and check my Obsidian for it, which I can.
But it's going to be really slow. It's going to take you a while to find the term, because I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but there is a term in there which discusses. It's not just about what the AI finds. It uses human knowledge, and the thing I teach in the workshop, you are more important. You provide the context, it uses the context. That context is then used by you, which is why content creation in ChatGPT needs you.
So to close this out, because we have been going for almost 2 hours now.
Yes, have we?
Yes. We started just gone 10. So yeah. To close this out, the way I would say this is AI isn't going to replace writers. It will replace invaluable writing, as in bad value writing, as in bad writing in general. I think it can replace the bad writers and actually make bad writing more prevalent, as in there's more of them. But I don't think it gets rid of good writers.
No. I agree.
Cool. Right. Because I actually want to eat something before I go to football.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Bye.
Well, bye, everyone. Oh.